Greetings from Tokyo, my friends. This is Daisuke, and we will begin our film discussion live stream on Thunderball very shortly. Let's just wait a couple minutes, and I'm still setting up. But in the meantime, of course, please feel free to chat or begin chatting in the live chat area. Once again, let me just begin setting up here. It won't take more than a few minutes, hopefully. Okay, great. How's everyone doing, by the way? Oh, great. We have a lot of people here already. So, Cooper Glover, 1972, hello. Thanks so much, as always. Mike Eli is here again. Hello. Is here. Hello. I love that name, by the way. Damien is here. Hello. It's nice to see. Christopher is here. Hello. Anonymous Fowler. Schlock Horror is here. ROP. Rob, hello. Damn fool. Ma'am, I've come to... all right, so I'm gonna have to be up front. Zyrother is here. Hello. I'm gonna have to be up front, and I'll mention this again, but my Sean Connery impression is very, very poor indeed. So, my sincerest apologies once again. I hope you can forgive me. But yes, as Damn Fool says, ma'am, I've come to offer my sincere condolences. Da, 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 da. So, all right. Jeffrey is here. Hello. Yes. Oh, great. It's nice to see you. Okay. Seth Walsh is here. Hello. It's okay. I loved my first viewing of Thunderball. Instant top tier Bond for me. I must first point out how great the music is in this Tom Jones, a watery foreshadowing intro. Yes, yes, and I love how you say foreshadowing, because I will try I will try during this conversation to talk about that and how there's a nice link to the end of the film, as you know. But anyway, let's get started then. I think it's now 7 a.m. where I am, so I will get to the live chat again momentarily. But before that, greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I want to say hello, hello, hello. And we are here today to talk about this film starring Sean Connery as James Bond 007. It is 1965's Thunderball, and or to put it in my best Bernard Lee impression, Thunderball. So this is another Sean Connery James Bond film. It is a very intriguing film for a number of reasons, which I hope to try to get into during the course of this live stream discussion. And more importantly, of course, I look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments and observations, which I know will be much more pointed, much more on target, and much more much deeper than anything I could ever hope to muster. And so I'm looking forward to this immensely, and I'm looking forward also to learning from you and to getting your perspectives and thoughts on this very, as I say, intriguing work, which is Thunderball, directed by Terrence Young. Once again, Terrence Young. And so before we begin, let me say that this is, of course, a live stream, and so this is a type of discussion on the film, and it's meant to be a discussion just among fans and a nice casual talk with people who like James Bond films and this type of film. So you are free, of course, to start talking in the live chat, and I will do my best to address everyone here to the extent I'm able to. But if I miss anyone, please forgive me, and it's not my intention. And also, I will rely on you, my dear friends, as I've always done, in terms of providing me with extra information about the film or about the background production, anything that I come up short and I am not able to state or to make comments on my own because I don't have that knowledge. I will, of course, rely on you, my dear friends, for your insight and your own information and your great expertise when it comes to James Bond and this film in particular. And in that discussion, of course, or in that spirit, I've always relied on you to always maintain a sense of mutual respect with each other. There might be instances where there could be disagreement, there could be debate, even intense, heated debate, but that is always okay. We always respect others' opinions. And so I know that I can rely on you, as I've always done in the past, my friends, to keep the conversation in the spirit of mutual respect towards all. And so I thank you very much in advance for always being there for me and always supporting me in this channel in that way, as you have always done, my dear friends, as you have always done. So thank you very much in advance. And also, anyone who has any questions or comments for me, please feel free to leave them in the chat. But of course, I will try to get to everything. But I would like to, if it's okay, I'd like to just focus my energies today on Thunderball primarily. There might be some mentions of other James Bond films, but primarily Thunderball. So if you have any non-Thunderball related questions, please please understand that I probably won't get to that. You are always free to leave a comment elsewhere on a video somewhere, and I always do my best to get back to every comment. So I hope you can understand that. And last but not least, of course, this is going to be a let's see. Um, this is going to be, shall I say, deep dive. This is going to be, we're going to be swimming with the sharks when it comes to details and spoilers. And so if you haven't seen the film, I would strongly suggest that you turn off this live stream right now and then watch the film. And then if you're still interested, please, you can come back anytime, because this will be a video after the fact, and you can always check out this and turn on the chat function and see what the conversation was. So once again, we will be going into spoilers. And also, I don't claim at all to be any expert. I don't have any inside knowledge or information about this film. I'm approaching this 100% as a fan. And so that's the trajectory of the conversation, at least as far as what I have planned to talk about today. So again, the topic, it will be Thunderball. All right, so before we go any further, let us see. Jeffrey is here, hello. And let's see. Seth was talking about the foreshadowing intro. Yes, this was your first time watch, so I look forward to hearing your great perspective, my dear friend. Because I don't remember actually the first time. Excuse me. I don't remember the first time that I saw this film. I just remember it's always been there in the atmosphere, in the air, in the ether for me. So let's see. So I look forward to, please share with us your first impressions. I'd love to hear it, my friend, throughout any time. And that holds true for anyone else here as well. Let's see. Oh, Damien says, what a wonderful film Thunderball is. And to be honest, the older I get, the more I appreciate it. It's just my opinion. Great opinion, Damien. Great opinion indeed. Damfool says, this may be my overall favorite Barry score. It is arguably his finest. Ah, yes. Yes. I love, yes, there are many things to talk about as well. Yes. Zyro says the only thing better is his impression of chin acting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think this group is the only group uh, where I can find solace in being able to freely engage in in chin acting. Thank you so much for giving me the space. Thank you. I'm very, very honored. So let's see. Kevin is here. Kevin O'Donnell. Hold on. Hi, Daisuke. I hope everyone is well. I can't stay long, but I just want to say this is the most rewatchable Bond film for me. Underwater scenes are masterful, cool, and the song is my favorite in the series. Thank you so much, Kevin. And no worries, no worries. I'm glad you were able to stop by. Thank you. You're very busy, so thank you so much for taking this time to stop by. Most appreciated, my friend. Most appreciated. And I will see you again very soon. Cooper Clever 1972 says the starting and the ending of the film are really the only parts I like of the film, but the music is fantastic. Schlock horror, or schlock horror, right? The first time I saw Thunderball, I was loving it. The pre-titles were great. Then it went to an ad break and changed to a different show. Turned out my mom had taped over the movie. Oh. What was that other show, by the way? Maybe, I mean, yeah, if you recall that. But still, yes, the pre-titles were great. Yes, yes. Um, yeah, talk those pre-title sequence. Yeah. Says, I think I better go to sleep, but it was nice checking in. Thank you very much. And good night and rest well. And I hope you are well. Talk to you soon, my friend. And let's just scroll down here. And um, okay. Chuck Lorre says, no one says Thunderball quite like Bernard Lee. Yes, yes. And there's talk about the soundtrack. So okay. So let me now just very quickly mention in my opening comments, as it were, about Thunderball, this film, and where it came in terms of my own journey into the James Bond films and James Bond stories overall. So, as I mentioned, I have always been watching James Bond because my parents would be watching the films. My They would be playing on TV, for instance, or VHS rentals, for instance. And when I was young, the first films I remember seeing were the Roger Moore era films I've mentioned before, but films like View to a Kill, etc. And then I do remember, I have memories of seeing The Living Daylights and being so excited by that. So this is in the 80s. I was a child of the 80s, and the rest, as they say, was that. And then, so in that context, I was so I would watch all the Bond films, and usually they would be, for instance, as Schlock Horror might indicate, maybe they'd be on TV and I'd record them, or maybe they'd be VHS rentals, or something of that sort. And so one of those films would be Thunderball. It would be Thunderball because this is one of the considered to be in the classic era in the 1960s, and you had the James Bond film craze, the spy film craze, Sean Connery being ultra popular, and so you had in that mix, you had a film in '65, Thunderball, and coming after the mega hit that was Goldfinger, and already we were on our way to seeing James Bond and the films being firmly established in cinema history as we know now. So it was always there. And I must say that this is another film for me that I would rely on, as it were, if it came up or if it was showing on TV, or if it was excuse me, if it was just hold on, there we go. If it was on TV, or if it came up in maybe on the VHS shelves or something, let's watch Thunderball. Okay, I would never say no. I would just always watch it and go along with it and really enjoy it. And I remember too, my parents were very much fans of this particular film as well. Now then, the question became, I mean, I would say I would always like it, but the intriguing thing was if someone later came to me and asked me, what are your, say, top five James Bond films, favorite James Bond films, Daisuke? And I'd mention my top five. But you know what? Thunderball would never come up on my part in terms of my response for favorite James Bond films. It never came up, and I never thought about that until somewhat recently. I always thought, hey, you know what? I say I like Thunderball, but it never it never occurred to me necessarily just to what degree I like Thunderball. And why is it that on the one hand I say I like Thunderball, but on the other hand I don't claim it to be, say, my favorite James Bond film ever? What is it about that? And what is it about this film? And so I thought about it, and I think it might be due to a number of factors, but that I'll try to get into later in this live stream. But maybe in general, if I could say a little bit now as examples, maybe it was as I was a kid growing up, I I thought it was fun. I thought it was a very engaging locale and environment, very romantic. Excuse me, uh, very cool and suave. A very cool villain, cool cast of characters. Largo, Fiona Volpe, Domino, of course. And the settings were very eerie and mysterious. There's some underwater sequences that are so chilling. For instance, the um, when Angelo, after he is turned into Derval, and he's stuck in the cockpit there of the airplane, and he can't get out because of his safety belt or something. And instead of Largo helping him, Largo just cuts his air, and he just just is left there to die. It's a very scary moment. And then you see later when Bond is exploring and discovering the plane in camouflage somewhat later in the film, and he sees the body. It's not the actual body of Francois Derval. Of course, we understand through the course of the film's events that it's the imposter, Mr. Angelo. But still, we get that it looks like the brother, and he's got all the accoutrements and the watch, the Breitling Navitimer, I think it's, and the name tag of the brother. And so this is the proof that Bond, of course, will show somewhat later to the sister, um, Domino. And this will, of course, cause the chain reaction of switching sides, as it were, and Domino helping Bond, trying to locate or trying to identify the point at which the bombs are now aboard the Disco Volante. Right, but those scenes when he finds that body underwater, that was scary to me. Another scary moment to me was later in the big climactic fight between the Spectre agents and the, I suppose, authorities come down on parachutes with their wonderful, I suppose it's orange jump or orange sweatsuits, and they have the underwater fight. And there's a moment somewhat later in the underwater fight where Largo is fighting, and he has this knife, and he stabs someone, and he turns, and you see the blood trail in the water flow behind. I thought that was such an eerie, creepy detail as a kid, and even now I see it. So there are these little moments where things become they're so memorable. But what was it for me that made me like the film, but not necessarily make me feel like it was my favorite James Bond film ever? Why didn't I feel that way over the course of my time growing up with the film? And I never really thought about it until somewhat recently, maybe in my late 20s, early 30s, so maybe not so recently. But in any event, it was around that time in my early adulthood age, and then I was still watching the film somewhat regularly. And Thunderball, uh, in that time, it would be maybe. I think someone mentioned the masterful sequences of the underwater fights, etc. And uh, I felt at the time that for me, they may have been somewhat slow, and they felt to me at the time maybe to have a slower pace to them, as or consequently as a result. And that was an example. And I thought the story was very, very methodically paced, and it felt very long. And so that was my general impression. I still enjoyed what was going on, but it just felt a little bit slower. That wasn't to say that I hated the film, but it just felt that way to me. It felt very methodically paced. That didn't mean automatically that I hated the pacing, but it just meant that it felt a little bit slower in terms of its pacing, going from this point to this point to this point to this point to this point, going here and then going back here, meeting Domino at the junk canoe just before it's about to begin, or really when it's beginning. They find out about Paula. They go back. Bond goes back. Pinder investigates. Palmyra, goes under the shark pit, goes back, and then goes back to the hotel, sees Fiona, does the thing with Fiona in the junk canoe, goes back, and so all this stuff. But it still felt very. And then what happens to Fiona, and then we still have 40 minutes of the film, and we have here's another sequence with Bond and Rick Van Nutter's Felix Leiter doing the helicopter. Thank goodness that radioactive pill that Bond swallowed is still working. Keep going that way. Keep going that he's still right. So there's a lot of Felix Leiter helicopter action here, right? So so my point is that when I was growing up and in my early adulthood, it felt like it was a really fun time, but I did feel the effects, if you will, of the timing and the pacing of it. And it felt in that way, it felt almost like a laid back pacing, even though the stakes were very high in terms of the plot, even though it was a huge, grand spectacle of entertainment, and it was marketed that way, um, and the like. And so I think that was how I felt back in the day. Um, it was marketed, look up, look down, look out, and yet it was like, oh, look here and look later, and we'll go swimming. And so that was my general impression. But from that point, I would then, of course, continually watch it or rewatch it, and I came to the conclusion, or I came to the feeling where I am now about the film, which is that actually the pacing of the film is a very interesting perspective, because this feels through that pacing like, on the one hand, it is this grand spectacle, this film of the spy craze era, James Bond phenomenon reaching another peak with Thunderball. And it was just the biggest thing in the world. And so we understand that this has this epic feel to it on the one hand. And yet on the other hand, when I think about this, the way that it's plotted, it feels very much like say a procedural film. It feels like a mystery film. We know that the bombs were basically taken by Spectre number 2 Largo in this grand operation plot. Where exactly are they hidden? We don't quite know where they're hidden, but they're somewhere. So there's a little bit of a mystery. And in fact, when Largo opens that little secret door underwater and he turns the wheel, and the doors open and the bombs are there, dun dun dun. And then that's, I think, part of the mystery fun. It's like, oh, that's where they were. They were in this hidden secret chamber underwater the entire time. And so that was part of the mystique and fun. So that's a mystery element to it. And also, in that vein, we have the detective work of James Bond on display. And it's great because he is focused in on a particular area, or Nassau, and then maybe Shrublands earlier, and he's picking up little clues, little details. And this feels very much in that way like an epic film that, after, say, the success of the earlier films all the way up to not Goldeneye, but to Goldfinger, then the sky's the limit. And so we are off the races. And so the James Bond films would become these huge spectacle, grand entertainments on the one hand. But then at the same time, we have this almost low-key approach to the story and plotting, which feels very much like the early days. This is very much like detective work that we saw in, say, Dr. No, the film Dr. No, going from step to step to step to step, staying pretty much in a single locale for the most part. There's some globe-trotting adventures, that's for sure, pre-titles, and then say the first part. But then when we get to Nassau, we're pretty much there, right? We There's some quick shots back to London with the Home Secretary and M. If M's really into 007, right? Whenever someone questions 007, he says, if 007 saw this, then that's enough for me to initiate inquiries. So M is really on 007's side. Anything 007 says, M's pretty much on his side. If 007, like, it could be anything, I suppose. If if 007 says he saw a pepperoni pizza at half the price, then it's enough for me to begin inquiries or something like that. Well, I don't know exactly what M eats. Maybe he doesn't eat pepperoni pizza. If he does, that I don't know. But anyway, please pardon me for that example. But my point is that M is pretty much on the side of Bond on this one, even though we've got the wrath of the Home Secretary. My goodness, that Home Secretary. Oh, but anyway. Yeah, the that character, what a great character, and what a great way that we see the various levels of authority and power and government in the operations of M and his spy organization here. And so what was I saying? So yeah, so ultimately I see this as, on the one hand, a grand spectacle entertainment, and was marketed that way, but also it is in the vein of the early Terrence Young films. And we have to remember, this is a Young directed film. It is one that has this, I think, leisurely pace about it. It is glamorous. It has a kind of relaxed feel, I would say, as well. People just standing around and shooting and swimming and going to the casino, having conch chowder and beluga caviar, and just dancing slowly. And then there's the junk canoe, but that still has this element of fun and festivity and atmosphere and partying. And so, but at the same time too, there is the detective work from step by step by step by step, and then the swimming. And I think the swimming and the underwater sequences are indeed that type of, I find them to be the perfect encapsulation of this duality of the film. It is a grand spectacle entertainment, and yet it is also very methodically paced in terms of getting to each particular clue and getting to this step to getting this step. Bond going to the underwater, taking pictures of the Disco Volante, and then going back, looking at the pictures, understanding that maybe the Disco Volante is this kind of vessel, and then going back again with the junk canoe, but then going back again to try to figure out where the bombs are, and working with Felix Leiter, working with Pinder, working with Paula. Yes, so, and then the underwater sequences, they are this grand spectacle, these epic shots, and yet they are always very much filled with information. They are shot in a way that still gives us the full scale of information. It takes its time to let us know what's going on. Even at the end, we see all the fights and we see everything that's going on. Like when the Spectre, when the two of them are about to shoot one of the guys underwater, they're in this little thing where they're behind them is a panel that's tied with a rope, and we're given all this information. And then Bond, that gives us enough time to follow Bond to take his another jetpack here, essentially, and then shoot an arrow to not those guys, but hit the rope, which will then bring the door down, and then take out the two Spectre people. And then there's also enough time for Bond to do a little mid-fight. That there's always a little bit of that when there's this huge fight, but there's enough time for Bond to be like, if we see it in For Your Eyes Only, I think we see it in From Russia with Love, thank you, right? And that continues that tradition here in Thunderball. But my point here is that, again, it is methodically paced, and yet there's the idea of spectacle. And I didn't appreciate that until somewhat later. And now that I am able, or now that I watch the film, I see that. I look at that way and I think, my goodness, this is such a grand cocktail and a really fine piece of entertainment. And it's not just that, of course, too. There are many other factors that I didn't necessarily realize until, say, as I was growing older. I didn't realize how good they really were. And so I look forward to sharing with you more of those thoughts and hearing yours, of course. But that's where I am now with Thunderball. And so, is it my favorite James Bond film ever made? Not sure, probably not, but it is so good. And I didn't realize, or I didn't necessarily feel how good it was for me until I got a little bit older. And so now it's, yeah, it's, it's, I love it. I really love it. But anyway, let's see here. Let us go back to the live chat here. Okay, it's just, I'm going to skip over a little bit. Rob is here. Hello, Rob Tapscott. It's nice to see you. There's great discussion here of the soundtrack. Is Byford the Hobbit is here? Hello, yes, yes. It's a holiday in Japan. Yes, so I have to go back to work tomorrow, but today I've had a few days off, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk. What better way to spend one's days off than to talk about James Bond? Yes, Damien, Largo, hands down, very underrated villain. He gets some classic moments, though like poor Quist, his failure to speak more later. Yes, Largo, and you mentioned Quist. Yes, if don't if I'm in the same room with Largo and I see Largo with a towel, oh, I'm going in the opposite direction immediately. Largo and the towel, and my goodness, you know, I you know, like it's not even like a towel snap. He just flings it, and oh my goodness, Largo and towels. That's his. My goodness, wow. Largo and knives and towels, and then the firing guns for the shooting range, and then not even that, fisticuff. He's able to give Bond a few punches, especially at the end there. And while he's doing that, and he's punching Bond, he's fighting Bond. Of course, he's got a number of Spectre agents with him, but still, he's fighting Bond. He's giving Bond a good 1-2, and he's still managing to try to drive the now out of control Disco Volante. Oh my goodness! Oh, and there's a guy randomly bringing champagne. Like, what's the champagne guy doing? What? Like, oh, here's champagne. Oh, you know. So, yeah, what a great. No, yeah, Largo is a great villain. What a great villain. I love when they're playing, in the casino. They're playing cards in the casino, and there's a close up, and Largo's got the cards, right? He's got the card, and he puts one card over, and then he turns it over, and he reveals the cards, and there's a close up on his face. 8, and then long 9. You seem to be unbeatable, Mr. Bond. I must pass the shoe. That's great. Yes. So Largo is wonderful, and so I think yes, Damien, I agree. And the villains here are the villains rogues gallery here is one of the strongest. Largo is very strong. Fiona Volpe is one of the classic villains. It's really remarkable just what an impact Gianna Paluzzi has on this film overall. Whenever she's on screen, there is this air of menace and danger and the sinister vibe and this steel, devoted nature she is. She's utterly devoted to the mission, and she uses her sort of cunningness, and she uses her sexuality and just everything in order to try to get the ultimate objective of her plan. And ruthless, absolutely ruthless. Oh my goodness, what a great combination they make. And there's that moment when they're shooting, and there's that moment when they're together, and I think it's probably the only moment that we see Largo and Fiona Volpe together, right? And they're talking about Bond, and Bond is an enemy of Spectre, and so if and Luciano Fulci's Fiona Volpe gives us the information. If you had killed Bond now, that would have alerted the authorities to the fact that the bombs are here. So don't that when the time's right, I will kill him. And so that states the case very clearly and very strongly. So that becomes, and then of course we see how she tries to enact this particular mission. It doesn't go quite as she plans, of course, but we'll get to that later with the junk canoe and the dancing at what is it, Kiss Kiss, and so talk about dancing. Yeah, there's some great. I guess I'll do it now. This is Sean Connery and Fiona Volpe dancing. Oh, this, I enjoy my dancing. Ah, it's great. Yes, yes. And then oh yeah, it's great. Yes, we'll talk about that later. Yes. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I agree, Damien. The villains are super, super strong here, and so I'm total agreement with you, my friend. Let's see. Seth says the many scenes of sharks, the location of Nassau, the most gorgeous women, so much more to say on this classic villain with an eye patch. Yes, the eye patch is very good because also that is a visual cue when we go underwater and we see all these people with their face masks and the scuba gear. The eye patch helps us to alert us visually to the fact that this is Largo, and so that's a really nice touch. Yes. Adolfo Celli, yes, he is a great, great villain, and also just note Robert Rietti, the voice, right, and so that really commanding voice that we will hear or we've heard before in other Bond films as well. So it's interesting that you can there are some areas in the supplemental materials in a lot of the home media releases where you can actually see bits or hear bits of the actual voice. It's very interesting to hear the comparison. The same is true for Claudine Auger as Domino, Nikki Vanderzil, and so we hear I think there's actually a little bit in the film itself where we actually hear Claudine Auger's actual voice. I think it's at the end after. Um, um, what's his name? Kutz, Dr. Kutz, the George Pravda character. After he rescues Domino, and he says, he's gone mad. Please tell them I was only doing what I was told to do. So he's and then Domino's still in this terrible sort of this feeling and just in a haze, and you hear she can barely make out words, but I think that's her actual voice too. It doesn't sound like dubbing, but I also love too that the professor there, what's his name, Kut says, he's gone mad. Like he's chosen this precise moment to figure out that Largo's gone mad. Like he had so many moments before the film to figure. But anyway, yes, that's a great turn as well. I never learned to swim. And we never find out what happened to him at the end there when you just see him like get pushed off. What happened? Was he okay? Did he fall into I don't know, like the engine or propellers of the disc? I hope not, but I hope he's okay. But anyway, yeah, it would have nice to have seen like Bond and Domino, and Bond's doing that thing with the hook, and he's with the that inflatable balloon in order for them to catch them. It would have been nice maybe to Bond, he's hugging Domino's, okay, we'll just wait here for the plane to pick us up in this I would say, very dangerous way to escape. You'd think maybe they'd wait for maybe a rescue boat, but they're waiting in this huge thing, which could really, I don't know. I've never been in that situation before, but I can imagine that could really do some damage to one's back. I don't know, but anyway, I was thinking it would have been interesting for him to be having maybe Domino here, and then Professor, come on board. Let's go. The more the merrier. Three's. This is a party, so it would have been nice maybe if you had a shot of not just Domino and Bond going away, but maybe Domino and Bond, and then the Professor going away. So the three of them, and they all live happily ever after. But oh well, we never know what happens to him. But c'est la vie, I suppose. You know, I guess it was his Spectre against Bond's. So let's see. All right. Um, all right, just scrolling down here. Okay, yes, I think you got the point. I think I got the point, Daisuke. Yes, schlock horror. Love Largo. Love the part when he cuts the guy's air tube and leaves him to drown. Largo isn't afraid to get his hands dirty where other villains would have a henchman do it. Yes, that's a really good point, schlock horror. Yes, Largo is actually physically capable of doing a lot of the so-called dirty, getting his hands dirty, as you put it. He's in there. He's I suppose because it's this huge thing, because he has to, these bombs are really, this is Spectre's, right, according to Blofeld, it's the biggest operation yet, apparently, and it's already underway, because we know Spectre is this huge operations that we've seen at work in other films, and also we get the sense in this hideout in Paris. I think it's Paris right at the beginning, where we get the understanding that Spectre is this huge global thing, and they have their annual, I guess not annual, but their regularly scheduled meetings. I love how Largo is late to the meeting here, and then later on, Bond is late to the meeting of the Double O's in the conference room, and the Home Secretary and M, and but in uh, uh, number one seems like a much kinder boss in a certain point of view anyway. He's not like, well, now that we're all here, number two, and he's just a sit down number two. So he's pretty okay with it. You know, it's okay if you're late. Don't worry. I'm not gonna electrocute your chair. Don't worry. But when Bond is late, he's like, now that we're all here, Bond. So that's the situation with M. So it's interesting to compare the leadership styles of M and Blofeld. Number one, it would have been interesting to see M and Blofeld maybe have a mano a mano, perhaps, but oh well, oh well. What was I saying? So yes, so Spectre is a really, we understand that it's this huge organization, and there are many operations going on at once, and this operation is one of their biggest, if not their biggest at the time, and to steal the atomic bombs and to be able to use them to hold the world ransom, essentially, for, I think, diamonds. And Spectre, we get a little bit of the Spectre organizational ways. We understand that number one, Blofeld has a pretty low tolerance threshold. If someone if someone doesn't if someone does something wrong, okay, if someone embezzles money, or if there's even the suspicion of embezzlement, you're out, you're gone. If someone hires someone else, and that person that has been hired demands more money, the person who does the hiring is out. I'm talking about Count Lippy, and the fact that he hired Angelo, who then demanded more money after the plastic surgery operations, and just at the very prior to going to pretending to be Derval, and then going on the NATO training mission, and stealing the bombs, or leaving the crew essentially dead or incapacitated, leaving Spectre, leaving the fighters prey for Spectre to essentially steal the bombs at will. And so but if you hire someone who essentially demands more money, then you're out. What else? So if you're working at Spectre, I mean, oh my goodness, like, I suppose maybe there's this risk reward analysis that goes through everyone's mind when everyone decides whether or not to take a new job. But my goodness, if I were like, can you imagine having a job interview with Spectre? My goodness, it's like, oh, my name's Daisuke. Are you interested in career advancement? Oh yes, if it's possible. Yes, I'm always interested in the possibility of career advancement. Work hard, good results. Of course, I understand. It's all depending on that. Having a good group communication skill. Okay, I understand that. And then of course, if don't embezzle any money, or else we'll kill you. Don't hire anyone who is untrustworthy, or else we'll kill you. If you fail in any other mission, we'll kill you. So there's a lot of I guess job pressure working at Spectre. And so the people who do work at Spectre, I think there must be a lot in it for them. Maybe the bonus or the perks are pretty high indeed. But for instance, that the when that one of the Spectre agents at the beginning is talking about the money from the double agent Matsu Fujiwa, but unfortunately, was it only 40 million yen, all that the agent had. And so that's, I don't think, probably back in 1965 that was a lot of money, but perhaps it's at, only 40 million, all that the man had. So I was actually afraid upon rewatch and thinking about Spectre's high demands on the job. I was thinking maybe that that particular agent would also go because the money was perhaps, relatively speaking, too low for number one's demands. And in fact, also, if you think about it, Largo, who essentially failed his mission, and also Fiona Volpe, who essentially failed her mission, I would hate for them, or I can imagine what would have happened to them had they survived and had they gone back and returned and had to report to number one. Oh, and imagine if Largo had survived, you'd be like, da da da, and then boom or something, or maybe Domino just missed with her spear gun or something, and then he jumped, he swam away, like Jaws in The Spy Who Loved Me or something. He just swam away as the Disco Volante exploded, or the cocoon has been jettisoned, and that part of the disco. How does when the disco volante, when it separates into two, how does that work? Is it like the disco and volante, or is it still disco volante? But anyway, um, so imagine if Largo had survived. He just swam away, went back to Palmyra, and got changed really quickly, got into maybe some secret helicopter and flew off to Paris to say, "Oh, number one, number one. Oh, number two, report. Oh, I'm so sorry. The bombs blew up and I couldn't get any money. The plan failed. The plan failed. Sit down, number two. I'm just waiting for the report from other people. Oh, okay, I'll sit down. So that would have been the end of Largo in that alternative scenario. But in any event, yes, Spectre, we get a whole idea of what Spectre is. And incidentally, number one here, it's great to see. It's uh, um, Anthony Dawson, right, and the voice Eric Pullman, and so we get it's great. And we get to see all the. We didn't see a lot of Spectre in the previous film Goldfingers, and now we see it in all of its full grand glory. But I never noticed it until this film. That number one really likes, like, it's like every sentence or every other sentence that he says, or every other conversation he's involved in. Can you every time there's a number mentioned in the conversations with number one, there are so many numbers, like, 20 degrees long, 60 degrees, 16 point something something megacycles, the frequency, I think, or the bomb, I forget the bomb number. Was it 47? Is it 475, 476, or 476, 477? I forget exactly. Someone please correct me. But my point is that there's so many numbers. Like, number one just loves to talk. Like, every other word is like a number. And so you think, oh, that's probably why number one, Blofeld, we assume Blofeld established the entire. Blofeld was probably sitting in his room one day and saying, okay, when I'm creating this this huge international criminal organization. I'll call it Spectre. That's a good name, yes. And maybe he was working, maybe at the time, I don't know, maybe his friends, like Dr. No or something, maybe they were roommates or something, I don't know. And there was we should create a criminal organization together, Dr. No. What do you say? And Dr. No said, okay, right, let's write the rules. Well, how should we organize the people? Should we have ranks? Should we have this? No, no, no. I like numbers, Dr. No, and I think let's have the numbering system. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean, Ernst? And I think because we can have and maybe number one. I'll be number one. Maybe I think that's fair. I'll be number one, and then we'll have number two, number three, number four, number five. And as people progress in their various acts of villainy, we can say, okay, the higher you go, you can the more the perks you'll enjoy of the job, and the bigger bonus you'll have, etc. So, and of course, but I have to be number one. So that's probably, and I really like numbers. I like data. And so, yeah, let's go with this organization. I like it. It's easy to understand. It's easy to follow. And don't forget, I'm number one. So that's probably, or I'd like to think maybe that might have been how the Spectre organization came into being in terms of the numbering system. But anyway, we get a lot of the villainy here. And also, finally, and this is my last point before I get to the comment section. I apologize, but one of the interesting traits of this film is that uh, in a large portion of the earlier part, we focus in on the villain side, and we focus in on points of the story connected with Shrublands and NATO and Angelo and the the actual stealing of the bomb's plan, and actually the essentially the taking or absconding of the actual materials, and the plot involving Count Lippy, and we meet what happens to the actual Derval, and the twist involving Fiona, um, Derval's personal secretary. And so we get the steps, we follow the villain's plan up to a certain point as it's enacted, which is very interesting. I think it doesn't happen that often, or maybe it does, but it doesn't happen that often where we see a little bit of the villain's plan enacted. I would say perhaps the earliest prior example would be something like, say, From Russia with Love, right? Because in that film, we kind of get, we follow the villains a little bit as they are trying to set up the pieces, in terms of Spectre trying to use various agents, various essentially Soviet agents, in order to enact its plan and to essentially steal the lector. We follow them up to a certain point, and then we leave them and go back to Bond's story. Here, it's pretty much the same thing. In essence, we follow the villain's story up to a point, and then we go and follow Bond, who then uh, respectfully asks to be restationed from Canada to Nassau. You're stationed, going to Station C, Canada. Incidentally, has there ever been a Bond film where Bond goes to Canada? I know there's been stories involving Canadian agents. I think there was one, right? The film Quantum of Solace, I think, involved the Canadian agent, and but he's never been to Canada, right? Or has he? If he has, please let me know. But it would be great to have Bond go to Canada, have a mission in Canada. And we almost had it here. We could have had Thunderball take place in Canada, but oh no. He's like, I respectfully request that you change my assignment to Nassau. Or something like that. But anyway, um, yes. Oh, it's your specter against mine, eh? I thought I saw a specter at your shoulder. I'm sorry, I'm referring a little bit later to the moment when he meets Largo and Domino, and also Vargas, who's sitting right there. Um, he meets them at the casinos. Oh, you're specter. So there's a lot of spectering. So he's trying to give them the hint that he's onto them. And so I really wish he could have continued on. Like every other set, I would have loved to have had Bond every other sentence be about Spectre. May I buy the lady a drink and a Spectre or something? Or, oh, my Spectre is luckier than yours, Spectre, I think, Mr. Largo, or something like that. But oh well. Um, what was I saying? I just totally lost my train of thought. I apologize. But anyway, let's go back to the live chat here. 5 bags of popcorn. It's nice to see you, my friend. Alec here. Hello. Yeah, second favorite Sean movie for me. Mind if my friend sits this one out? She's just dead. Talking about, yes, what happens to Fiona. Um, that is one of those highlight scenes. The whole sequence, or any scene involving Fiona Volpe. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, Ryan Chataway, hello, my friend. Yes, we will talk very soon. Yes, Mars and Worldwide, hello. Um, why is there no official Bond Film Festival? Maybe I could start one. That would be great. Yes. Um, let's see. Buck Bell is here. Hello. my grandpa is a huge Bond fan, but for the most part, I've only seen the most recent films. I need to sit down with him and watch the classics. Yes, yes, I can strongly recommend it, and you're welcome here anytime, my dear friend Buck Bell. Michael, Mr. Hi, everyone. Hello, Michael. Carl Hayes is here. Hello. Tom Jones singing the title track. Hey, everyone. Yes, yes. Um, right? But he thinks that the fight is worth it all, so he strikes da 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 like Thunderball. Right? I love how in the earlier film, Goldfinger Shirley Bassey stretched out the last word, right? Gold, like gold. He loves gold. Here it's like strikes like Thunderball. So who's stretching out of the syllable is longer? Is it Shirley Bassey's or is it Tom Jones? I never sat down to time it, but um, yes, Tom Jones' song is it's great. Yes. Um, yes, he'll break any heart without regret. His days of asking are all gone. Uh, his fight goes on and on and on. That's great, but he thinks that the fight is worth it all, so he strikes da 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 like Thunderball. And I love how I think in that moment, like in the credits, it's like so he strikes like thunder. I forget the timing, but then you get the credit, produced by Kevin McClory. And so I always thought in my head, so he strikes da 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 like Kevin McClory. Yeah. Now that's another story in and of itself. The Kevin McClory, Jack Whittingham, and Ian Fleming. What happened there? I'm not going to talk too much about that. And actually, it's a type of legal saga that continues on. It started way before this film Thunderball. Um, Several years, in fact, and according to my understanding of the situation. But essentially, it involves a situation where, I think um, when I was growing up and I heard a little bit about what was going on, I always felt that Kevin McClory was kind of the villain of the whole James Bond film franchise in a certain way. But when I began to get wind more and more of the details, as far as I understood, I'm not an expert when it comes to the whole legal battle between or among the parties, Whittingham and McClory, and then Fleming, but then later, of course, McClory, and then Fleming, and then right, and then it becomes even quite complicated afterwards. But I never really knew the details until I got a little bit older, and when I got wind of the details, based on the resources that I had, assuming those resources were factually correct, I would actually think, my goodness, this is actually this is probably not the best thing that Ian Fleming did in terms of writing the book Thunderball after he was working with William and McClory on what essentially became the story. So this is, in terms of rights, intellectual property rights, Jack William and Ken McClory had a really sound argument in my view. And so I'm not sure why. I mean, I suppose one can speculate exactly why Ian Fleming did what he did, but still, it was it wasn't. I realized it wasn't necessarily the case of, Kevin McClory is a so-called villain of the sort of the legal details behind the films of Bond. In fact, it's much more complicated than that, and his case is actually very strong. And so that's why the legal entanglements ended up being what they did in terms of rights holders, who holds rights here, how are rights transferred, what happens to particular rights, the characteristic of rights after certain time periods elapse. And this becomes a very complicated affair. In the study of intellectual property rights is a very engaging and exciting field. I am in no way an expert when it comes to intellectual property law, but my very general understanding is that actually, right, Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham had a very, very strong argument. And so what their role is, and what eventually Kevin McClory's role is, from this film onwards, is very significant. And it's not like I don't feel like he was a he didn't intrude necessarily, but he was essentially trying to, in essence, really uh, 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 what's the phrase, exercise his legal rights. And so there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with one wanting to exercise one's rights, especially in the area of the creative arts. And so that's sort of my own personal take on it. So I don't I see this situation as um, I mean, it becomes something that parties down the line, successors in interest, that's the phrase, when successors in interest have to essentially inherit not just the benefits, but also the legal obligations and entanglements that are bequeathed to them, then that becomes a very it's what is it? The derivative rights as well becomes an issue, and so the chain of command or chain of rights issue that led all the way up to the situation involving how Spectre, the recent film, came to be. And so, anyway, it's a long story, but as far as my understanding here up to now, um, yeah, it's uh, we should of course point out the background involving Jack Whittingham and Kevin McClory and Ian Fleming, and their initial plans essentially are working together. I mean, I wasn't in the room when they were trying to work together, so I don't know who exactly claims to what, but the idea is that they came up with the story that was Thunderball before the novel was even written and published. And so then the idea is that Ian Fleming apparently wrote the book, which was essentially the idea that the three of them conjured up beforehand, and he just wrote the book without giving them credit. And then then the book was published, or was about to be published, and then Broccoli and Saltzman wanted to make it into a film, and so a deal was struck in order for Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham, but eventually Kevin McClory only, of course, to get credit in terms of producer. So that's why you have the Kevin McClory credit appear, produced by Kevin McClory there. So he strikes da 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 like Kevin McClory. So anyway, but enough talk about that. Let me go back to the live chat here. So, let's see. And Cooper Glover 1972 says, that stretching machine makes me think of the machine that Roger Moore has put in Moonraker. Ah, yes, the rack. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going to go back here, but what the let's see. I'm probably never going to do this ever again on a video. So so here's my impression of Sean Connery on the rack. Hey, help! So, oh, the rack scene. Yes. Nice to have met you, Mr. Bond. And so that is, as Kubrick Glover 1972 indicates, that's another example of Bond being in a helpless situation. And how is he going to get out of this situation? We had the laser beam sequence in Goldfinger. We had the Moonraker gravitational pull device in that film, and he's trapped and can't. How is he going to get out? And so here we have the spine stretcher machine. And wow, do those machines actually exist? I don't know. I've never seen that. So, but again, I'm not a stretching machine expert, so I'm not quite sure if those exist. But and I love the little detail of the lever. You notice that the lever is just going back and forth. I assume that that's probably for some kind of manual stretching, but it was also fitted with an automatic device. So in any event, wow, that da, 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 hey, my goodness, and you get the springs underneath. Oh my goodness, what a sequence that is. Oh my goodness, I would love to have been at that meeting, right? That production meeting. Okay, Sean, here's what we're getting today. Oh, what's on the menu for today, Mr. Terrence Young? Okay, here's what I have in mind. We're gonna put you on this stretch machine. Oh, is this a bed? Oh yes, but we're gonna be on the stretch. Oh, I'm gonna be in bed. Yes, but you're gonna be by yourself. And then, oh, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna strap you on here like this. Oh, I'm gonna look like this. Am I gonna have a shirt on? No, you're not gonna have a shirt. You're just gonna wear a towel. Oh, I'm just gonna wear a towel. Okay. And then so you're just gonna sit here or just gonna lay here, and then I'm just gonna turn the switch on, and this thing's gonna, watch that thing in front of me there. Oh, that's a little lever. Why is it going back and forth? It's just going back and forth like that, Sean. Don't worry. But anyway, I'm just gonna have, and I'm just gonna shoot you from this angle. Oh, what should I just pretend like you're in a lot of pain? Oh, how's that? How's that turn? Oh, it's perfect, Sean. Perfect. Just keep a little more and cut. Perfect. Yes, print that. Print, so that, oh, I would have loved to have been on that shoot that day when they were shooting the rack sequence. Yeah. But anyway, um, one of the I don't know. People should mention that sequence more. People say, "Oh, the laser beam sequence in Goldfinger is classic," and also, yeah, don't forget the rack sequence in Thunderball. Oh yes, I forgot. You're absolutely right. Yes. Anyway, Into Gray is here. Hello, hello, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Um, Scrolling down here. Seth Walsh says this movie's just laugh out loud awesome. Yes. Yes, Damien says that crazy dramatic score when 007 is nearly stretched to death. Yes, da 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 da, 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 and the camera too. It's like, I can't. Sorry about this. It's like, oh, help, help. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that leads to that sequence, right, with uh, right. It leads to the sequence later, with Pat or Patricia, right? And it's like, oh, you're not going to tell anyone I'm going to lose my job, and it's kind of the creepy moment here in terms of Bond and the ladies, but oh well, I mean it's right. It is what it is, I suppose. But in any event, yeah. And it leads to the relationship between Pat and Bond. I think it was referred to either Mink, etc. Um, uh, and it's actually in a part of the in shrublands called irrigation, right? And he says, see you later, irrigator. And the Blu-ray that I have anyway, it's the subtitles. You can have the optional subtitles featured on. And if you turn it on at that moment, I think he says, "See you later." It says alligator. It doesn't say irrigator. It says alligator. I think the whole point was a play on the word alligators, but he says irrigator. But okay, alligator. Something else happens. I forgot to mention it, but something else happens in the Blu-ray version of The World Is Not Enough. Remember in that film where Bond and Christmas Jones have just escaped the pipeline and it's exploded, and then Christmas Jones says, what's between you and Electra, and then Bond says, we're strictly plutonic now, and so I think it's meant to be a joke, a wordplay on the word plutonium, and the phrase "we're strictly platonic," but he says plutonic. I think that's the whole point of the gag. I think, but the subtitle in the Blu-ray version of the Blu-ray release I have says "we're strictly platonic," as in Plato, platonic. So, oh well, oh well. So maybe I'm wrong. Seth Walsh, is that a Philip Stone cameo? Yes, in the menacing boardroom with number one. Yes. Yes, Philip Stone. Yes, so you make a great point, and this is another point. So Philip Stone I guess he's the British gentleman in the Spectre boardroom who's talking about, I think, the commission fee for or consultation fee for, I think it's the Great Train Robbery, I think, or something, and but Philip Stone also, he appears in a lot of films, included in which is Kubrick films, The Shining, right? Grady, right? Delbert Grady, and so, or yeah, Grady, and so I would love to, if I'd love to have him. When number one is speaking to him and he's giving these, we got our consultation fee for this particular robbery situation, and also number one, what is it? I have another possibility here. What is it? The plans are still in the works, but we think we might have another lead involving a possible extortion plot, involving a particular gentleman at the Overlook Hotel. But I will get back to you with details once I have heard further. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, number one, or something like that. So anyway, yes. Okay. David Humble is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Cyrother says distinct lack of lasers on their heads. Yes. Damn Fool says it remains the definitive water film. Yes. Yes. Um, okay. Scrolling down here, sorry. Jared is here. Jared! Our dear friend Jared is here, yes. Oh yes, I'm at the point where Cooper Clever's talking about the clinic, Shrublands, and Count Lippy is in that sauna thing, and is like, turn, don't worry, all close. Help! Get me out of the machine! Help! Help! Yeah, yeah. And Count Lippy was still able to get out just in time to call Derval and Fiona Volpe, and basically start the plan or start the ball rolling with Angelo. Yes. Cool Kids Clips, hello, my friend. Let's see. Chris is here. Hello. Hello. Would love to meet you if I ever make it to Tokyo in the next year or two. Oh yes, I'm always going to be in Tokyo, my friend. So thank you so much. I hope you're well, Chris. Thank you. Anonymous Fowler says, I remember watching it the first time on VHS. Not my favorite Bond film, but it's fun. Seth Walsh says, I love the shot of the boat pulling up to the outdoor dance casino. This Bond has a classic feeling of almost every set being a cocktail lounge. Yes. And I love how he's sitting down. He's not standing up. Like, there's that shot, I think it's, is it Skyfall, where Bond is standing up on the boat when he's going to the, why does he have to stand? I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, Bond's sitting down here. Yeah. Yeah, Damn Fool says, yes, Lippy gets roasted in the tanning machine. Is it a tanning machine or is it a tanning machine or is it a sauna? I'm not sure what it is. Is it a tanning machine? Yeah. Yes. And he's, dun, 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 dun. You're right. Barry's score, brilliant score, by the way. Yes. Don't worry. I'll call the chef. And it's got that, I think, maybe saxophone. Right. Schlock Horror, Calvin Dyson. Yes, I'm a big fan. Calvin Dyson. I love his channel. Oh, great Bond expert to the max. Yes. Buck Bell says, "What's this? That's a snack check. I have here, just a beverage here, but yes, cheers." Let's see. Okay. Dustin Lewis. Dustin Lewis is here. Hello, my friend. Yes. As Damn Fool says, Vargas does not drink. Vargas does not smoke. Vargas has trouble with directions. Yes. I love Vargas, though. Remember the scene where Bond is exploring the Disco Volante underneath at night, clandestine. And just figuring out what's going on, and he's exploring, and suddenly there's a guy swimming, and like da, 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 they're fighting in the water, da, da. And then I love how the Disco Volante is equipped not just with one underwater camera, closed circuit TV, but two. So he's got two monitors, right, on in the control room where Largo can see essentially the same action. I think from basically the same vantage point, just one monitor on top of each other. I love it. But then they go out onto the deck, and Vargas, throws the grenades down, and butter, and he's like that, and butter, and Vargas goes on the boat, on the speedboat, I think, the motorboat, and goes, and then they hit something, and then it's essentially Bond using the deep breather, the mini deep breather device to trick them to think that he's been dead or he's been killed, and the air tank, and I think the mask is there, and they pick up the air tank, and like, oh, we must have hit him with a and Vargas, he's like, oh, let's go back and tell Largo, and he's like a little kid, just figuring out that he's like something's maybe that his that his teacher will be so happy about or something. So he's like a little kid, so excited, he can't wait to tell Largo the news. But unfortunately, of course, for Spectre, it's, you know, he's still alive. And in fact, another Spectre agent happens to come along a few minutes later on the with the car and Fiona Volpe and the driving, shoo shoo, and we're at the same hotel here. How convenient! Yes, all right. Some men just don't like to be driven. No, some men just don't like to be taken for a ride. So after you. And so therein, yes, the great dance between Bond and Spectre is still underway. But Vargas, yes, Vargas. Um, and speaking of Vargas too, uh, let's see, um, uh, what's his name? Michael Brennan. Yes, I think right. Michael Brennan is the other Spectre agent, and he's when they're at the Kiss Kiss Club, or at the junk canoe, and Bond has escaped Fiona Volpe and the others, and they're trying to find him. Incidentally, that let me just speak about that sequence too, because that's a great sequence, probably one of the strongest sequences in the film, which is after Fiona Volpe and Fiona and Bond meet each other again in the hotel room, and it's that, you know, she's in the bathtub, and the high heels, and right, the things I do for England is cut out, you know, and we'll of course see that line appear in the film You Only Live Twice, of course, but. Incidentally, before I get into the Fiona Volpe junk canoe scene, incidentally, this reminds me of one of Bond is a secret agent, right? And so I can kind of understand why that line would be cut out, because it assumes that he is on a mission for the British government, the things I do for England. So, I mean, I guess maybe he's, maybe he's. Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to assume that he's working for the British government, because people can say that maybe the things I do for England, like the World Cup, maybe he could have been pretending to be a football player, a soccer player. But anyway, the point I wanted to bring was earlier with, remember Quist and that wonderful like shirt that he has. He's hiding out in Bond's hotel room, and what is it? Uh, he's hiding, I think, in the bathroom or in the shower, and uh, before Bond is able to find Quist, he hears a knock at the door, and it's Rick Van Nerd. He's like, "Well, hello, Double." Oh, and he punches him in the stomach a little bit before he's able to say. He said, "Why did you do that?" He said, and then he says, "Shh," and he goes to the bathroom, and then he turns on the water, and you know, it's apparently super scalding hot water or something. And so he subdues Quist, but Quist is still conscious, right? He's not unconscious. He's still awake. And so what I didn't understand is, at this point, both Bond and we understand Felix Leiter are in the bathroom, and Felix says, "Why did you do that, James?" And Bond says, in the room while Quist is there, he says, "Because you're about to say 007. Yeah, that's no way to treat the CIA, James." So Bond punched Felix in the stomach in order to prevent him from saying the code name 007. And yet, when they're in the room with Quist, who apparently is still awake, they both say who they're working for. Essentially, Bond says, "You're about to say 007." And then he says, "Oh, you're that's a fancy, that's no way to treat the CIA, Jane." You know, so they essentially give themselves up, and they give up who they are with the with someone from the opposite side, as it were, still there. Thank goodness for them that when Quist goes to Palmyra, a scene or two later, then we've got the whole thing with the towel and Largo, and you know, the Golden Grotto sharks, and no, you know, and the great shot. It's like the Sunset Boulevard shot, kind of. And so, but yeah, that was always it. I never understood why Bond punched Felix. Maybe he's like, "Oh, Felix, I don't want to see you now," ugh, or something like that. But even so, why would he feel that way about Felix? I mean, they've been, we're meant to understand that they've already been through a lot together. So, but anyway, um, let's see. All right. Sorry, I'm totally dominating the conversation here. I'm so sorry. Just gonna scroll down here. Um, sorry, I'm skipping over. Scott is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Sorry if I've skipped over um, your comments. I apologize. Sorry, my friends. Um, yes, Danful says we've still got one bomb aboard. Bring on the bubbly. It's referring to the champagne that I was referring to at the very end of the Disco Volante. Yes. Um, Danful says when Largo menaces you with 8, you can feel the menace, which then Bond flippantly punctures. Yes, there is a direct Bond versus Largo personal battle raging on throughout the film. Yes, yes, I agree. I agree. Um, oh gosh, I got jumped down again. Sorry. Ah, this live chat is here. We go. It's great, but it's hard for me to control the function here. All right. Oh yes, there's some mention about Never Say Never Again. I will hopefully get a chance to talk about that film soon, as well. I can't wait to talk about that. Yes, um, right, 007, right. We'll get to that verse. Yes, yes. Um, Joseph, hello Joseph. You say Spectre has good health insurance. Yes, 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 yes. Um, and Austrian actor Eric Pohlmann, according to Henri de Lagardère. Hello, Henri. And you say Austrian actor Eric Pohlmann, who voiced Blofeld, has sonorous bass voice, great diction, and of course the right accent. Yes, 2,000,003. Our expectations were considerably higher. Yes, you know, we counted. Yes, to the penny. Number one. Yes. Um, sorry about that. I've just skipped over. Sorry about this. Okay. Um, Ryan Harding is here. Hello. Ryan Hardy says the dubbing on Thunderball is truly horrendous at times. Yeah, I can understand that. There are some moments. It's what's the phrase? Sometimes like the cue when he says and he turns and he says now pay attention. I know it's dubbed over and it's a shot of Desmond Llewellyn turning and you can see that his mouth isn't moving, but you hear his voice now pay attention. Um, or there's another scene where Bond enters Fiona's car and says, may I have a lift? And she says, sure. And you see her lips aren't moving. So there's a lot of, what's the phrase? Ventriloquism in terms of the dubbing. So perhaps these people in the Bond universe are really good ventriloquists. So anyway. Yes. Yes. Yes, the song. Yes, the issue with the songs. I'm at the point where Damful is referring to the songs. And Damien is talking about, yes, Tomorrow Never Dies and Surrender. Here, Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Um, yes. I like that song very much, and its use in the sequence involving Fiona's. Oh yes, that's where I was going. Yes, I'm sorry, I lost track. Yes, so the Fiona Volpe sequence and the junk canoe. This is classic. So one of the strengths of this film, and the way that there is this this sexual chemistry between the two performers, and then that leads to the antagonism, and the line about how you having a failure, Mr. Bond, um, and James Bond, who only has to make love to a woman, and she starts to hear heavenly choirs singing, and she repents and returns to the side of right and virtue, but not this one. This is apparently right the idea that we saw kind of, or not kind of, directly in the earlier film Goldfinger, where we had Bond essentially seducing a character there, Honor Blackman character, and then that apparently was one of the motivations for this character to switch sides onto the side of good. And so this is essentially what Fiona Volpe is critiquing here in a very meta way almost. It's like, this is not how it's going to work, at least for me. And so I'm still your enemy. And so let us take care of this business. And he says, well, you can't win them all. And you take them to, they're going to take them quietly, I guess, to Palmyra or and then to number one, I suppose, or for execution, we assume. I think it's to Palmyra, but or to the Disco Volante. I forget exactly which, but they're held up by the junk canoe parade, and I love this. And the guy says, "Here, have a sip. It can't harm you, man. Here, have a drink." It's like, "No, I don't. No, I insist. Have a drink." And they're in the car. It's like, "Don't try anything, Bond." That's what Fiona says. And I love at this precise moment, "Don't try anything." And she takes her eyes off him in order to light her cigarette. And my goodness, it takes a long time to light that cigarette, right? It's just like, "Have a drink." Boom, boom, boom. Fire gun hits Bond in the leg, and da da da, and then the 007 theme. And we're off and running. What a great sequence! And we've got shots of the junk canoe parade going on, Bond being chased, and this is where Bond is a vulnerable situation. He's unarmed. If he gets captured, he knows that he's probably going to die and going to be executed. So it is imperative that he escape. And so we get the shots, we get the John Barry score, the great use of 007. We get a little bit of the dog in the middle there. Right, so there's a little bit of that Spectre agent like doing that, like running in place, like that's great stuff. And then the blood, and Fiona Volpe is her eyes. She must have really, really keen 20/20 because she can spot like blood, little bits of blood on the ground without any street lights, I think. And so it's like, "Oh, look, it's really dark, but I can see, look." And says, "Oh, look, you here." And then they manage, and Bond is like, da da da, ah. It's like, "Hey, watch out, I'm walking here. And Bond's like, "Okay, I'll just turn to this Kiss Kiss Club." And he goes in, and we've got that little shot. And I was always fascinated as a little kid with the shot of the performer, the dancer, and she's dancing, and it's that like dun dun dun, and she's got her feet, and she's dipping her feet into the flames. I was always fascinated by that. I was like, how is she able to do that? That's amazing. But anyway, and he goes and ties up his wound with a wet handkerchief, and so that's supposed to make it all better. And then he goes back into the bar, and it goes into the instrumental theme, Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, da 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 da. And we've got the Spectre agents there, and that one guy is just standing there. They're in pairs, and one guy's standing there is like, he's really angry at Bond. He's like this, and then the guy next to him is like looking at him like, "Hey, you're really angry." But he's like, "Oh," and then "Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to. Oh, you're mad, aren't you? Yes, isn't everyone? May I cut in? And you should have told me your wife is here." And they have the dance of death between Fiona and Bond. Oh, this is an amazing sequence. And as I mentioned before, the dancing, the Sean Connery dancing is wonderful here. They're just, strange as it may seem, I've grown accustomed to your face. And then, this is great stuff. And then it cuts into the sequence with the gun. You would think they want to, "Why don't you come with us quietly?" Because, "Well, you don't seem to understand. You see, I enjoy my dancing." And da 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 ba ba da 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 da. Yeah, and then da 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 da, and the drum da 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 da, and then Bond is able to essentially like freeze time. It's like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. He can see bullets fly apparently, and he just turns at the right time, and boom. That's the end of Fiona Volpe. And I think for maybe some in critical circles, once Fiona Volpe exits the picture, some life, I think, is lost to a certain degree. And I can see that, because her characters brought so much like volcanic life to the film. And when she exits, it's, oh, Fiona's gone. Yes, mind if she sits this one out? She's just dead. Let's walk away here. And I would, that guy at the table, You know, he's just sitting there having a cocktail or something. He's like, "Oh, what's going on?" At five, man, oh, if the film could have stayed at that scene, like 5 minutes later, what would have happened? How would they have discovered that? But no, it's like butter, and it goes cuts. Wait, we're not interested in that. We're gonna go straight into, all right, you're gonna make your delivery point of the diamonds here at the such and such archipelago. Oh yeah, but anyway. And it goes back to da, 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 da. We gotta keep finding those bombs, Felix. Let's go take this helicopter. No, 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 no. And I think that's the point where some versions we see, oh, manta rays. Oh, those are manta rays. Yes, but not in the Blu-ray version, I think, or in the recent audio mix. But and um, and that's that voice, the manta ray voice, the manta ray line isn't even voiced. It's voiced by the by Pinder, right? But anyway, um, okay. Sorry about that. Again, I'm dominating the conversation. I should stop and go back to the live chat. Cooper Clever says that flying jetpack at the start of the film, I guess, never took off for the consumer, probably because it's so dangerous to use a jetpack. Yes. Yes, they originally wanted the guy not to use a helmet because, yes. Um, yes, Whittingham really got cut out. Yes, Fleming merely used the abandoned treatment for the book like he had done on other abandoned things, but he should have consulted first. Yes. Yes. There really wasn't a villain in the scenario. Yes, yes, and it's yeah, I agree. It's a very complicated situation, and it's like, you know, you never talk to lawyers until after the problems arise. You know, but if there had been some legal consultation beforehand, I think it would be a much happier situation. But in any event, anyway, things happen. Yes, things happen. So, all right, just. Um, Oh, Ryan Harding. Wow. Just noticed she and Heidi. Wow. I said I wasn't going to talk about other films, but well spotted. Wow. Ryan Harding. Whoops. Ryan, yes. Well spotted. Yes, I love this film. What a I'm not sure how available it is, but I was just watching this again recently. Oh, yes. Well spotted. I'm very impressed. Um, yes. Uh, all right. Um, Damfools, it's a sort of sweat box thing. Okay, you're talking about the Count Lippy machine. Yes. What is that machine? Yes, Count Lippy. And like it looks like an ice box, I think. Yeah, it looks like an ice. I know it's not meant for that in the film, but yeah, it looks like an ice box. Um yes, Vargas is pleased, almost like a childish student. Let's go back into Largo. Yes. Yes. Um the Junkanoo, yes. Chase, yes, is one of the best action set pieces. I agree. Um, yes, and he's having to rely on his wits. Yes, I think another similar sequence that we saw like that would be in the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service when he's just escaped from the ski chase and he's in the town. He's trying to escape the people and he's in panic and what he's going to do and he's alone. Yes. Um, yes. How can he escape the parade when he's bleeding from his heel? Yes. Excuse me. Let me just get some air. It's a little bit hot, stuffy here. Sorry about that. Um, oh gosh, there we go. It jumped on me again. I'm sorry. The live chat jumped on me. So sorry. I'm skipping around here. If I skipped. Mars and Worldwide is here. Hello. Um, sorry. I'm skipping around here. Oh my goodness, this is not a good day for my ability to maneuver the live chat. I'm afraid. I'm so sorry. And it's 8:30. We're gonna have to begin to wind down around 9 a.m. my time. So We have a few, let's see, we have a few more minutes. Not a few more, we have 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes or so. Sorry about this. I didn't even get to Domino and Francois and Claudine Auger. David Calhoun is here. Hello. All right, it's nice to see you. Um, oh gosh, let's see. Okay, here we go. Yep. Yes, talking about the sharks. Yes, and the scene you're talking about, the sequence in Palmyra at night, where uh, Bond is investigating what happened to Paula, and he finds out what happened to Paula. It's really sad, and he sees, Paula probably, we're not quite sure what happened. Probably she took something to essentially kill herself rather than betray the mission. Um, and so she's a kind of unsung hero of the piece, because he's like, oh, tell her Paula's dead. Oh, who's the girl, Jane? Oh, Paula Capel, my assistant. So there's really not a lot that we get in terms of introduction to the character of Paula. We get a little bit in terms of, well, it's not exactly what I call contact. I'll say that you've seen the girl, and so there's a little bit of this interesting back and forth between the characters, and this playful banter between them, and so I enjoyed that very much. But of course, Paula, we find out, is now dead, and then this, I think, leads to the scene involving Palmyra and the sharks, and putting the covering over the pool. And so the person at the other pool, the shark pool, lifts open the door and lets the sharks into the. My goodness, this is a great setup in Palmyra, but there is one flaw in Largo's plan here. Can you guess what the flaw is? Okay, the flaw is, if you're going to have two pools, make sure you have someone keep station, keep guard at the second pool. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, Largo. Don't have everyone now surround the main pool, because there could be a chance that Bond might escape, go into the tunnel, go back into the second pool. And if that's the case, you better have someone there stationed and ready, because you want to be sure that the Bond doesn't escape. But does that happen? Oh no, oh no. But anyway, um, yeah. Sorry, old chap. Better luck next time. Or now you can tell him about the one that got away. Whatever your choice, whatever your fancy is, right? Yes. Let's see. All right. Schlockhorse says Felix should have punched Bond and returned him that scene. you nearly you nearly said double. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah, maybe Felix should have taken some, like, when Felix is prepping Bond for the very final scene. He's like, oh, that and the kitchen sink, right? And he's got Bond and the super equipped tank on his back. Oh, all right, on you, anything looks good. And by the way, Bond, this is for what happened to me before. Ugh, it just gives him a little gut punch. All right, dear, off you go. Just, that's for earlier. But anyway, yes. Ryan Harding says, the continuity error with his bleeding leg always stands out to me every time I watch the film. Damn fools, the weird thing is that the hotel scene comes earlier in the story-wise, but Peter Hunt moves it to later in the edit. That's one of the errors caused by flop shots. Yes. Fiona's whole speech is a direct reference to the negative criticisms on Goldfinger and the way that switchover character was performed. Yes, yes. That's a great speech. That's a great line of dialogue, by the way, by Fiona. Yes. That's one of those great. Yeah, that's a great moment. Ah, what a great character. And actually, I'm going through here. Yes. Let's see here. Michael Porteous is here. Oh, oh, Dave Films is here as well. Hello, my friend. And Michael's here. Hello. Um, the film Spectre. Does this film have any relations to Thunderball film? Is there mentions of Spectre within this film? Yes, there are. Yes, this film Thunderball involves a lot of this of Spectre and Spectre agents. So yes, yes, the Manta Ray line is in, yes, the alternate mix labeled the mono and was in mix heard until Laserdisc Remix was made and then became the new standard version. Yes. Damful, do you know, or Zyroth or anyone who knows, was there ever a version? I want to say there was, but I can never keep track. Thunderball is one of the, I can't. It's hard for me to keep track. But at the very end, right, we've got that we've got not really reprise of the of Monty Norman's James Bond theme because we never really heard it until now. I think, but at the very end when we hear that theme song, was there ever a version where we got the slower, that you can hear on the soundtrack, da 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 blah 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 ba 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 ba. Was there ever that version? I'd like to like in my mind, in my imagination, I'd like to think somewhere I'd seen that version, but I don't remember. Maybe I'm misremembering. Was that ever a thing? If you know, please let me know. Because ever since then, I've always remembered only seeing the version with the James Bond theme overlaid onto the soundtrack there. But thank you. Barry made a Thunderball ending cue that is in the mono. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. Okay, so my memory was not incorrect. Great. Okay. And Ryan Harding says, I think Connery's worst pre-title sequence is the one in Thunderball. Really? Oh, interesting. Is it because of the sequence itself, or is it because of Connery's performance? Either whatever reason, that's fine. I'd love to hear. But the pre-title sequence is, I wouldn't call it my favorite pre-title sequence ever, but it's very intriguing. I like how uh, we've got JB and this hinting about the death of James Bond, kind of, which is something that we see echoed throughout the series. Harry Saltzman touch, etc. But sort of the hinting at the death of James Bond, sort of. Jack Bouvard, number two of my colleagues. And so we've got the whole reveal. Uh, right? Don't open car doors by yourself. Right? That's the lesson of the moment, I suppose. And I love how Bond is waiting like this. He manages to get there really quickly. I don't know, that Aston Martin is very fast, I'm assuming. But yes, my goodness. And I've come to offer my condolences. My dear you shouldn't have opened that car door by yourself. And there's a lot of chair throwing here in this film too. You notice that chair fling down the floor. That's amazing. And also, it's we've got another chair throwing action at the end in the Disco Volante fight. The chair's thrown and boom. But and I love the moment where uh, um, Bob Simmons throws. I think it's the clock down, and Bond stands into the window there, and he stands and look, and he's I look how he gives, there's a little shot of Sean Connery's like, you didn't get me. He says, yeah, da 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 ah ah hey hey. And like, no, no, he pauses for just a moment to throw the flowers there, just like later in Troublance, he pauses a moment to get a little grape, I think, from the room before he leaves. And I love that. Incidentally, I love that moment in Shrublands. Before I forget, I know I'm going all over the place. I'm sorry, but I love that moment. I can't do it very well, but excuse me here. Um, um, here we go. Here we go. Dun 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 dun. Yes, sorry. You know what I'm talking about, the scene. But anyway, the going back to the pre-title. So yes, and the fight, and suddenly there's a jetpack, and oh wow, what? And I love how the guys are shooting, and one guy's like just standing there like, what the heck is that? Wow, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And he flies over the chateau and he goes in there and it's like, oh, and like there's just these two guys like shooting, and oh, here I'm gonna shoot it's not oil slicker, it's water jets from the Aston Martin. Ah! And then and very practical, and then goes into the title sequence, and you've got all the ladies, I suppose, the models swimming in silhouette, and the bubbles, and the Tom Jones song score, not score, but the song and music, and 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 so he strikes, da 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 da, like Thunderball. Yes, great stuff. And then um, uh, this is the return of Morris Binder, correct? And so, and that's also that motif is reprised kind of at the end with the big climactic fight underwater. We see not models this time, but essentially stuntmen swimming and the bubbles, and so that becomes I think a visual motif. Oh, we're seeing the end credits sequence, or not the title sequence, played out sort of in reverse at the very end there, in that climactic battle. But yeah, the pre-titles, it's an interesting proposition. It's not my favorite, as I say, but it's pretty good. That sudden twist of um, of uh, of who this person really is, and it's like the shock of the John Barry score adding to the effect, and then the blah, 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 blah. It's really it's and uh, I think that's the motif. That's the musical motif of Thunderball. It's na 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 na. So in fact, it's almost like Jaws that we'll see. I think 10 years later, like da 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 da. Thunderball's like na 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 na. So there's something about water films and that da 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 na 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 musical motif. We're hearing it here in Thunderball. Amazing stuff. But yes, um, let's see. Oh gosh. Um, All right. Sorry here. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, Zyrother, thank you so much for setting up the poll for the next one. Thank you. Thank you. Um, all right. There's still time. We'll set it to about approximately 9 or so. No worries, but thank you so much for this as always, my friends. I really appreciate it. I can't do this without the great help and assistance and support from all of you. Uh, always coming here with your A game every single time puts me to shame. My goodness, I have to prepare better. You people are fantastic always. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Um, okay. Erwin says, all I can say is it's amazing as this went from bottom five to top five, really top five Bond films for me. I just thoroughly enjoyed everything about it so much this time around. Yes. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yes. Um, and Ryan Harding says, well, my favorite one liner in the film is, what sharp little eyes you've got. Wait till you get to my teeth. And indeed, yes, we will get to his teeth with the very conveniently located, what is it, sea egg spines? They're poised. Do you? I don't know this. I guess I should look it up. But what are sea egg spines? What are they? Do you know? Are they? Is this like an animal in the ocean? I'm not sure. Is it like a sea urchin? I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, she steps on one, and so we get the thing with the feet and and I can imagine it's very painful. Speaking of this, this goes into the Bond Domino relationship, which is also one of the strengths of this film. I think I mentioned how the film methodically covers, up to a certain extent, early in the film, the plot of Spectre to essentially steal the bombs and take them to some kind of secret hidden location. And we understand what happens in this context, what happens to Francois Derval, and also what happens when Angelo replaces him, and what happens to Angelo, and how that affects Largo and Largo's relationship with Domino. This is so important because, in fact, one of the strengths of this film is the emotional arc of the character of Domino, because she loves her brother so much. We understand with this wonderfully, with this wonderful photo of the two of them in this, like they're like picturesque models in this photo of Francois Derval and her sister Dominique, and what was I saying? And so anyway, so there's a very strong relationship between them, and so this is the motivating factor for Domino to be convinced to help Bond. not before they have a little bit we understand they met each other again underwater with scuba gear on, and there's a lot of bubbles, and they go behind a coral. I'm not sure what exactly. Well, I guess we can assume what happened, but although, yeah, like I don't know. I've never been on a date with anyone wearing scuba gear on, but I don't think it's necessarily the most. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a diver. Maybe people who are into diving can comment on this more clear. So I'm going to stop my comments here on this point. But in any event, the uh, they meet and they're on the beach, and then there's just and then of course we understand uh, throughout the film they've met and they've had this interesting, maybe flirtatious aspect. There's a bit of oh, oh, your name's James Bond, and you've been admiring my form, so you're a little bit of a pervert, Mr. Bond, is that right? So that's sort of the interesting pushback from Domino at the start, and then she begins, oh, you don't know your aphrodisiacs, Mr. Bond. Conch chowder is not an aphrodisiac. Oh, it just so happens that I like conch chowder. Oh, what do you think? I just like to eat it. But anyway, so that's the start of it. No, I have a really important engagement. I have really important. What is it? I have a really important appointment. I can't be late. Oh, can we have lunch by the poolside? Oh, okay. And she catches on very early. And then later on, they meet in the casino, and she starts to say, you're not like Largo, and the way you hold me. So there's this moment where she is falling for him, and we understand this. And then we see them again a little bit at the junk canoe, but that is held off. And then later with the beach, and they meet again with the scuba gear and the beach. And then this is the scene where after Bond discovers what happened to Angelo, he's got all the mementos, including the Breitling watch, the Breitling Navitimer. And anyone who knows wristwatches, you know that Breitling gets a lot of screen time here. Breitling and Rolex, but a lot of Breitling here. And there's a moment where Bond's hand is holding the watch and the name tag. And I think this is remarked upon in the commentary. What I forget, was it the John Cork comment? Anyway, it's in one of the commentaries, and how this is a very subtle act, or get to be seen as being a very subtly, beautifully applied acting moment on the part of Sean Connery Bond, because we have the shaking of the hand, and after Domino retrieves the items from his hand, you see it shake a little bit and goes like that, and that seems to suggest possibly some kind of, of Bond being emotionally affected by this particular moment, which is supported further by what he does immediately after this, which is it's a long story, and it involves your friend Largo, and he puts on his sunglasses immediately, which could be suggestive of it. Like, why would he choose that particular moment to wear his sunglasses right then? Why didn't he begin the scene with his sunglasses? And one possible explanation could be that maybe he was so emotionally moved by this particular moment that he didn't want to show any indication of such emotion. Thus, he wanted to hide his eyes, and thus he immediately went for the sunglasses. It involves your friend Largo, you know. So it's better than Bond be like, but so he didn't want to show the emotion. And so I think that's a really interesting interpretation of that particular moment. And it shows also that maybe Bond in this particular film doesn't display as much emotion when things happen to other characters. Regard how he says, "Oh, tell him Paul is dead. Another time, another place," and that sort of thing. But here, this could be suggestive of, in fact, quite the opposite. In fact, he is masking his emotion with a cool, hard-edged demeanor that's almost cold-hearted, at least on the surface. But in fact, it could be said to be masking some kind of emotional engagement underneath. And I like these little subtle details that lend themselves to this possibility. But yes, and so therefore, my point here, to take a step back, is that early sequence involving the steps showing the stealing of the bombs. This was important in order to set up the fact that Francois is Domino's brother, and the fact that we have to see him perish in these horrible ways in terms of the what is it, the gamma gas and the death of that way, and being killed by this sudden doppelganger that appears before you, which is this really frightening image, and the way that the mouth is covered and psh, da, 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 that's really scary too. Um, Incidentally, in this scene, we get the introduction of Fiona Volpe upside down. Her face is upside down when she's answering the phone. So I was thinking when I resaw this for preparation for this live stream, I was thinking, what are other instances in James Bond films where we have characters introduced upside down like this? I think the other one I could remember was in GoldenEye with Bond. Oh, sorry, forgot to knock, I think, and boom, and you see him down there, and then we see him right side up. But I can't think of any other instances where we see characters upside down like this. Um, if there are, please let me know. But there's, I think, GoldenEye, and then there's Thunderball. Um, okay, let's see. Well, yes, so the domino relationship and Claudine Auger's performance here, she's a very memorable performance, I think, or very memorable for a lot of reasons. And there is this innocence about her, and there's there are the characters Largo and Bond are attracted to her for many reasons, and their relationship, Largo's relationship with Domino versus Bond's relationship with Domino, excuse me, is very different, very complex, and essentially also Bond is essentially wanting to use Domino in order to figure out what the end game of Largo is. But again, there is this hint of an emotional attachment on the part of Bond. Is it subtle? Is it definitely there? Again, it's up to interpretation. But yes, all right. Again, one of the great strengths of the film. So already we have a film that has a lot of strengths to it, right? We've got the Largo character, a really strong villain. Fiona Volpe character, very strong villain. Um, like Domino, the emotion, the relationship and the setup with the character of Domino, really really strong. Um, and then they have the interplay between Bond and Felix, very strong. John Barry's score, essential stuff. And gosh, let's see. There's one other thing I was going to say, but oh yes, and then we spoke a little about the other underwater sequences. But in fact, right, I mentioned at the very outset that when I was growing up, I thought that maybe they were somewhat, excuse me, somewhat slow. But now I've come around to them more positively because the choreography is amazing, and it's really hard, I think, to show a lot of, or to register a lot of information. It's underwater, it's dark, the lighting is difficult, people essentially look the same, they're wearing the same color outfits more or less, or wetsuits more or less. I mean, you've got the the the, the the battle at the end, the orange wetsuits versus the black wetsuits, I suppose. Um, but here we've got an example of Spectre really doing well in terms of their costuming. Right, they really got it right. They said, back to basics, simple. Black tones. That's what I want. I want to see black shirts. I want to see the black colored wetsuits. That's what I want to see. None of this, orange or red or anything. I want to see this back to basics. And so that's the Spectre fashion designer of the times, I suppose. But then we have the great battle, and even in this underwater battle sequence, there's a lot of information that is portrayed very clearly and very well. I indicated that the eye patch of Largo is a great indicator of who Largo is, where he shows up. That's great. There's some close-ups of Bond and his blue mask, which is great. And when you take it off and you takes another mask that's black, it automatically becomes blue again. That's great. And you know what? I know it's possible. I know it can be done, but I could never do it. Which is, when your mask is off underwater, there's this way I understand that you can take a mask off and then put it back on and fill it up with air so you can take the water out. I know there's a way to do it, but I've never been able to do it. And so apparently Bond is able to have his mask be ripped off, but then he can put on another one in underwater and still manage to see, and it turns blue again. Wow, magical powers of James Bond. Yes, but there's so much information here, all the fights going on, all the way back to like the little lobster, and he's like, oh, everyone's fighting around me. I got to escape into my little home here before I get hurt. So we've got time for the lobster and the eel, and then shots, and they do some damage. I think there's some real. Do they? Is it me, or are they really shooting these arrows and these? Right, they're really shooting at these poor sharks, and they're bleed. Oh my! Ugh. But anyway, so that aside, we've got the um, we've got the um, is yes, the information is presented really well considering the, and I love how when they're about to equip the that machine, whatever is that orange thing, that mini sub, I think, with the bombs at the end, and Largo's like looking, it's like it's. I think then they have the fight inside that little hidden room there, and the music is da, 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 and then closes and great stuff. And this goes to the idea that this film is very methodical, and it shows us all the information. It's not quick. It's very keen to give us the information. I respect that very much, and I respect that very much indeed. And I love too how uh, a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times, the way to down your adversary underwater is not by, doing the knife thing in here, but just cutting the air tube, or ripping off the mask. And and that's it. And then there's one moment where you've got the guy, and some kind of, what is it? It's the gun, and he drives it into the eye mask. Oh, that's a scary moment right there. But uh, uh, so I really admire those sequences for giving us enough breathing room to to show us the information, and to make us be able to follow what's going on, all the way down to the jet stream of Sean Connery in the yellow trail. Here, what's the so they're fighting, and here we go. So this is my Ultraman figure, or my son's Ultraman figure. So everyone's fighting, and then we've got the and then he's fighting, and it's great stuff. And then the fight goes on, and then it's at the very tail end of the fight that we see Largo reemerge, and it's like Largo does the thing. Sorry, so this is the knife, and he's got, and in water, he's like, he's like that. Come on, Bond, come on, is doing the fight. That's and but anyways, and then that leads to the final fight sequence in the Disco Volante, and then jettison cocoon, boom, and then those poor crew members who are left behind on the cocoon part, and you've got the captors. You just hear his voice, keep firing, over there, keep firing over there, come on, keep firing. That's all he can say, because they're just lost, they're sunk. It's just they're gonna be overtaken by the forces there. And you got the fast part of the yacht just going at super speeds there. And uh, we've got one, we still got one bomb aboard. Or I should say, we still got one bomb aboard. So and then we've got the final fight sequence, complete with champagne, and then champagne, George Leach, and Largo, and oh my goodness, Spectre. There must be a Spectre training camp for how to use firearms, and whoever teaches the Spectre training camp for how to use firearms is probably teaching all the Spectre agents. Okay, Spectre agents, whenever you have a firearm, make sure not to shoot immediately, but raise your arm slowly, and wait and wait and wait. And so that's probably Largo's thinking. He's like, okay, I'm taking a page out of Spectre's How to Handle Firearms Handbook 101. Boom! And then the final sequence. Dun, dun, perfect. Who is going to be the who is going to bring about the downfall of Largo but Domino? Perfect. Wow, it's perfect. And he's like, I'm glad I killed him. You're glad? Who's he? I don't know, but he helped me. Oh, watch the rocks, the reef. Oh, he's jammed the controls. Oh, let's go. Boom. And that's, huge explosion. John Steers and company. Brilliant stuff. And then, yes, there lies the end of the film, Thunderball. And there's a lot going on in between as well. But yes, thank you very much. Where was it? Yes, Erwin, thank you. Um, Cine Arts, Tommy Cine Arts, my dear friend. Thunderball is Bond film that has really grown on me with every watch. A highly enjoyable and atmospheric entry. Connery is on form here, and I love the visuals and score. Yes, yes, agreed, 1000%. Um, It took me, Damful says, it took me a lot of studying, but I think the main issue is that Peter Hunt had to work like mad to get the reportedly 4 hour work print down to closer to 2 hours, and the second act suffered the most. Yeah, but I still think it has that step by step feeling. Which and so it's amazing the type of it feels very organized. I don't know if that makes sense. It feels to me very organized. So the fact that it was able to feel that way despite all the circumstances is even more amazing to me. So thank you. Um, Yes, Erwin says, I really feel sad for Paula. Yes, yes. Yes, David's humble. So whenever, whatever else, yes, Martine Beswick always goes for it. I wish she were in it more. Yes, um, yes. John Steers used experimental rocket fuel, and the explosion was massive. Boom. um, let's see. Okay, so I'm just skipping around here. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Just in the interest of time. Oh, Danfool says the character is named Boitier, but Connery says something like Bouvard. So that's an interesting detail. I never thought of it, but is okay. So Boitier is the hold on the character's name played by Rose Alba is Madame Boitier, but that's actually Jacques Bouvard in disguise. So Jacques Bouvard is Bouvar. So that's his real name, but he is masquerading as the person known as Madame Boitier. That's my understanding. So therefore, Madame Boitier, I think in the credits is Rose Alba, and so that's the actual actress who played the woman in the funeral scenes, etc. And then we realized that it was in fact Jacques Bouvard, and I think Jacques Bouvard is uncredited, but it's Bob Simmons. I think that's how it is. I think. So in fact, that's yeah, Boitier. But we never hear her name actually in the um, in the situation. So, but anyway, um, okay, okay, all right. So I think we are about over. Oh, and I should also mention. Um, I really should mention also Frank McCarthy and Robert McGuinness, and the great artwork here. Look up, look down, look out, and the marketing campaign. It's really splendid, and yeah, very splendid indeed. Very cool poster artwork and the like. So uh, just I just wanted to bring that. Oh gosh, okay. So William Ferguson says, "Oh gosh." Um, oh, okay, so William Ferguson. So I'm getting a Facebook message from William Ferguson. So um, yeah, if your a comment is blocked or something in the comment section, I apologize. I don't quite know what's going on. Sometimes, there's automatic blocking or something, but also the moderators, there are moderators here, but moderators, I think, were very open. So I think it's probably just an error on YouTube's part. So it happens occasionally. So I apologize for that. But let's see your comment here. Let me just share it. So William Ferguson says, my comment was, I just took a look at, and I believe Connor does in fact say alligator. Okay, the expression "see you later, alligator" dates back, as far as I know, to the 1950s pop song, later covered and made more popular by Bill Haley in the Comets. I used this expression myself 100 times when I was a kid. Yes, yes. So see you later, alligator. Yes, I know. Yes, thank you very much. So I know this phrase. So see you later, alligator. But I think he comes out of the room in shrublands, which is irrigation. And I think he looks up, and I think the joke, I could be wrong, but I think it's a play on the phrase "see you later, alligator," and he says, "See you later," and I think it's irrigator, but it's a very subdued voice at that point. But anyway, yeah, William Ferguson, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm so sorry about the comment. Again, the your comment is great, and so I can only assume it was just an automatic. I don't know. I don't know how sometimes YouTube it automatically does this with comments, and I always have to try to manually get them back. But I apologize for that, William. And thank you very much for reaching out to me. And once again, my deepest apologies. Great comment, by the way. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, and it's yeah. I don't think. Yeah, nothing. No ill will intended at all. Sometimes this stuff happens automatically, and again, for no reason. It's completely innocent comments most of the time, and even that automatically gets flagged or something. But don't take it to heart, my friend. And thank you very much for reaching out to me. So here's to William, my dear friends. William with a great comment and sticking to the details as well. Thank you very much for that. And once again, my sincerest apologies. Really, I'm very sorry. Let's see here. Okay, so it's now past 9 a.m. here, so I'm gonna have to start to wind down. Oh, Quatermass is here. Hello, and Chiggers is here. Hello. Sean is my favorite Bond, although Pierce was a Bond I grew up with. Yes. Um, Damn Fool says Largo's comeuppance comes not just from wrongdoing Domino, but in floating over finally getting Bond over a barrel and relishing in the moment. Yes. My goodness, what's worse? Is it Largo in this moment or Drax in Moonraker? My goodness, or should I say maybe I think my favorite one is probably my favorite one is Blofeld and You Only Live Twice. Come outside with me, Bond. Goodbye, Mr. Bond. Ah. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's longer than Largo's little moment here, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, yes, yes. Um, all right, hold on. Okay, so I am. Let's see. Is there anything else? I wish I could speak. But there's so many things. I didn't even mention the Q sequence. That wonderful shirt. Who has a better shirt in this film, my friends? Is it Q or is it Quist, the Spectre agent Quist? Who has the better shirt? I don't know. I think Q's fashion sense is amazing. I love it. I love it. But that shirt, that Quist shirt is one of a kind, is it not? Oh my goodness, that's a wonderful shirt. I don't know. Maybe for me, Quist wins out at the end, just barely, just barely. But for you, my friends, which shirt would you like? Um, Okay. And incidentally, how is the how is the how is the poll? I know that the poll is the Damien says Q all the way. Okay, all right. Much respect, my friend. Much Q. Okay, okay. So let's see. So interesting to Q versus Quist too. Yes. Yeah. So in fact maybe in Spectre world, Quist would also be called Q. So Q versus Q. I don't know. Um, Shalkor, I adore Q's shirt and shorts and his shorts. Yes, yes. Rob says fashion ROP is very good overall in this picture. Yes, I agree. I agree. The blue bathing shorts of Connery, which are very famous now. I think those were that blue color was homage. It was part of an homage, I think, in Daniel Craig's Casino Royale. I want to say, kind of. I forget the brand of the shorts. It escapes me at the moment. But then, um, um, I love the combination of blue and pink, the pink shirt that he wears, and then the Breitling watches and the Rolex, of course, and then the orange and blue color tones underwater. It's great. Um, yes, Bond has the best shirts all the way. Yes. Schlock Horror, Bond's reaction to seeing Q for the first time is hilarious. Oh no. Ah, 007. Yes. 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 I find it highly irregular to have to equip people in the field. Highly irregular. Yes. Oh, and Damsels, I think it's Bond's pink shirt and shorts. Yes, short shorts. No, overall, it's the black and white alternating bikini Domino wears plus the iconic red, orange, red suits. Yes, yes, that black and white combination. My goodness, that very clever, very clever. Yes. Damien says Quist's shirt reminds you of Mr. Stripey ice cream. Erwin says goofy Hawaiian shirts I don't care for. Fiona's boa is also wonderful, says Dample. Yes, yes. And that suit, that's Anthony Sinclair's suit, right? That he wears in the club in the Junkanoo, right? I think. Um, so it's Reinhardt. I never learned to swim. Never too late to. Ooh. Yes. And that poor guy, I keep going back to the guy who brought up the champagne. I think right at the end, he brought up the all his job was, I think, at the moment was to bring up the champagne. But like Bond is like, and I think that's him who gets like shoved out the door and out the water there. But anyway, he says, "Oh, I just wanted to bring up the champagne, right?" But anyway, um, Schlock Horror says, hoping to see Daisuke rocking a similar shirt on the next live stream. Oh, interesting. Do I have any Hawaiian color theme shirts? I don't think so. I used to, in fact. I used to have shirts like that. I remember I was at the time. I didn't buy it in Hawaii, but I was living in the U.S. at the time, and there was some store that I could get it fairly inexpensively. It was a red one, and I was at the time so keen on getting a Hawaiian themed shirt of that sort because, or that bright colored shirt of that sort because it was I was really into the film, the Takeshi Kitano film, Sonachine or Sonatine at the time, and so there's a really great sequence involving a character wearing a bright colored shirt of that sort. And so I was, yeah, get a loaner shirt from Culture Dog. Yes, that would be very cool indeed. Yes, Culture Dog, our dear friend, legend. Um, yes, and let's see. So, are there any last minute comments I want to make? I think that's it for now. I know I'm a little bit. Um, did Jenny actually survive this film? I'm not sure if he just. I think did he disappear pretty much after the Kiss Kiss Club? He was like, right. That's the guy who's like all angry there, right? And he just runs away after he's panicked. I think they still could have had a shot at like. That's the thing. Like in Bond films, why is it just? Why did they just have one? Like they just have one bullet? Right? It was the same at the beginning of the pre-titles in Skyfall, right? With right, take the shot, and you just have one shot. No, you should have, if you're on the field, right? I would assume that that gun has more than one bullet, right? Or maybe they shot it most of the rounds, and there's only one bullet left. I don't know, but anyway, um, yeah, he just disappears, right? Yeah, he just ran away. Um, you see Vargas, of course, but. They probably thought her death would cause a scene. So yeah. I guess yes, said Ryan Harding. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Um, Schalkhorst says he probably knows he's going to be put to death by Largo or Blofeld for screwing up and shooting Fiona, so he just runs. But it wasn't he. But he wasn't the one who fired the gun, right? Who's the one that it was the pair? It was. I'm so sorry. This is going to be so. It was George Leach and the other guy, and I know it probably wasn't George Leach, right? It wasn't George Leach who had the gun. It was the other guy. So do we see that other guy ever again? I don't know. Who is the guy who brings up the champagne at the end? It's neither one of it's that guy who brings up the champagne. He's not in the junk canoe scene, is he? I don't know. Is he? I'm not sure. But anyway, um, because we see George Leach at the end. He's actually part of the crew, so we know that probably, right. And he falls out. Only probably he survived, only to say, "Oh, I'm alive. What should I do?" And he probably found that's how he met maybe Christatos, and he found a job working for Christatos. But anyway, we know how that happened with him and sharks and everything. But anyway, that's another. Well, we spoke about it before, but we'll have to speak about it again in another live stream. The For Your Eyes Only redo. To be determined, of course, to be determined. Okay. Um, yes. Okay, so I'm going to now just present my final, I guess, closing comments before we end this and continue with the next one, which is, so Thunderball. Once again, I stated it at the outset, which is I had a certain view about this when I was younger, and the the film grew so much as I got older, and now I see it again. It's a different approach. It feels like an epic on the one hand, yet it also has that sense of the detective mystery type of methodical paced spy thriller. And so it's a film that seems to, in those senses, have it all, and it's jammed packed with information. It presents the information really well. I think the characterizations are solid. We understand all the motivations, even down to Count Lippy. I understand that, yes, he really just, like you can see, I didn't mention it, but you understand it's Count Lippy's hand that pulls that lever on the rack in Shrublands, and you can see the way that he pulls the lever. It's not just like this. He's like, "Oh, nice to have met you, Mr. Bond." Oh, and he just really hates Bond at that moment. Just wants him. But he's like, "I hate Bond so much. I'm not gonna kill him. He's vulnerable. I'm not gonna kill him. I'm just gonna let him. I'm gonna let his spine stretch to death." Ah! But anyway, so if we understand Count Lippy, we also know what happens to him. That's a really surprising, glorious, almost violent, shocking moment in terms of the execution squad section of Spectre, and we know who pulls that off. So we see that Fiona Volpe is someone who really is devoted to the operations of Spectre. And then so that is, I think, the situation. So the this is a very this is a film that has grown in my eyes as being a very entertaining one, and it has its moments. It certainly does. Strong characters, really great sequences and the like. So I'm very, very happy to have been able to speak a little bit about it. My comments, as always, are not so good. I apologize, but thank you for putting up with me, and also thank you, more importantly, thank you so much for giving us, giving the for you, my dear friends and viewers, for providing such great conversation. Um, and you say McClory is in the casino, and so is his wife. Yes, yes. I can't copy that wonderful facial hair, but yes, camera movement on cue. Right? Yes, yes, I understand. Yes. Okay, so and Cinema Dave is here. Cinema Dave, our dear friend. Oh, yes, it's nice to see you, Cinema Dave. Yes. And Elvin is here. Hello, hello. Um, yes. Where's the Kickstarter? Says Ryan Harding. Yes. So thank you very much for that as well. Um, yeah, thank you so much. So that, my friends, is the discussion on Thunderball. And so yes, I'm done. So thank you. So let's see. I didn't even mention. Well, I get it. I guess I mentioned a little bit. Bernard Lee's M. Right. I love the way he says it. Code name Thunderball. I love it. I love it. Great stuff. Buck Bell says, if you should ever, for some wild reason, find yourself in Wyoming, you'd be a welcome guest in our home. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Buck Bell, my dear friend, our dear friend Buck Bell. You're so kind. Thank you so much. What a great honor it is to be able to talk with you here and on comments. So thank you. Erwin says, from Russia with Love is the next. Is that right? So the poll is decided. Are we going to do From Russia with Love? Is that right? Okay, if that's the case, then I'm okay with that. From Russia with Love is the next film. So is that decided? If so, we can we can decide it right there. Yes. Um, all right. Well, someone's here. Okay. But okay, so For Russia with Love is next. Okay, great. So it has been decided by the poll. Thank you very much. Damn Fool, Cooper Clever, 1972, Zyrother, Jared as well. I know you were here for a little bit, but thank you, thank you. Zyrother, you came up with the idea initially some time back. I still remembered about the poll. What a great idea, and it holds strong even now, so thank you. So the poll results are in, I understand, and the next film to be discussed is From Russia with Love. Okay, so we're back to Terrence Young territory, and Robert Shaw and James Bond, Sean Connery's James Bond, and yes, this is gonna be a great one. Um, Rosa Klebb, Tatiana Romanova, yes, the Lector. Um, Karen Bay. Oh my goodness, can't wait. I cannot wait to talk about this. Yes. Um, uh, if I could time it, I would say if we could time. I don't think my timing is that good, but we should time it for the 13th if possible. But if not, then it'll be in spirit anyway. But yes, From Russia with Love. I cannot wait. Thank you so much for that. I will schedule it as soon as I know the schedule. I will, of course, make the announcement, and we will go from there. But great choices, my dear friends. Thank you. So From Russia with Love is the next one. So this is one of my favorites, and I, I, I've mentioned it before, but I love it, even down to the really hard to read end credits, the end credits scroll, which is on right some kind of, I think it's a Venice gondola, I think, and it's like it's really hard. It's like, you have been watching, but not the end. Here's the cast, and it's really hard because it's on this basically undulating gondola, I think, and so that's great. You have end credits from the perspective of an undulating gondola. I love it. Brilliant, brilliant. You know, Ernest Stavro Blofeld. What is that? Is that a question mark? Yes, it is. It's great stuff. But anyway, can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be probably during the weekend. I'm not sure when it's gonna be. It's probably not gonna be this weekend. But oh yes, Ryan Harding's I love the wave at the end. I can't quite do it, but like this, right? Yeah. So that's another thing. So it's like another like hand puppet motion. That's another theory that perhaps there's a lot of maybe ventriloquism in the air. We mentioned maybe there's some ventriloquists. Like I think Fiona Volpe is a ventriloquist at some point. Q is a ventriloquist at some point. So maybe there's something to be said about that. But anyway, yes, yes. What a performance! Yes. It's rumored to be perhaps to be Young's hand. Oh, really? Really? I didn't know that rumor. But if that's the case, that is very interesting indeed. There's a certain type of elegance. It's not like if I had to do it, I would just go like that. Bye, see ya. But there's a certain like I can't mimic it, but it's like mimicking the waves of the water. And it's perfect. Yeah, yeah, great. Yeah, if it's Young's hand is like, yeah, Sean Connery, yeah, I'm gonna be here, and I'll do this. Well, you, Terrence Young, you take care of the hand motion. Yes, so that's probably okay. All right. Um. Yes. Okay. Okay. So we are about over. So how shall we end this? Um. Okay. I know. I have an idea how to end this. So we will end this now. But once again, thank you. Oh, who is Bond compared to Kronz? Exactly. Um, talk about yes. Yeah. those shoes. We got to talk about From Russia with Love, and we got to talk about those shoes. Everyone seems to have a pair, yes, of those shoes. And yes, oh, great stuff, great stuff. Yes, um, and I love the way that Kronstein says, you know, referring back to the earlier film. Yes, it's referring as an killing of our operative, Doctor No. In case you forgot the title of the previous film, it was Doctor No. So yes, great stuff. Yes. Mimic being picked up by the skyhook to the end. Okay, so it's like, how should we end? Should we end with a skyhook like like that? I guess we could do that, but maybe just as a line of dialogue, something simple. So I referred to it before. Bernard Lee's M. You know, they're thinking, gosh, Home Secretary, what should we give as a code name to this particular project, this particular mission? Oh, what do you think? Maybe Thunder Boots? Yeah, it doesn't quite have that ring to it. How about Fireball? Oh, Fireball sounds interesting, but I think we used the term Fireball in a previous mission. I don't know. I like Thunder Boots and Fireball. How about if we mix them and we call it Thunderball? What do you think? I like it, Em. I like it. Let's go for it. So let's do it. So I'll say code name, and you fill out the rest of the line. So code name Thunderball. So I'll say code name, and then you give me the rest of the line in the live chat. So okay, my dear friends. So thank you so much for this. This was really um, this will be a kind of this has always been this is always a lot of fun for me, and I'm just really I'm impressed all the time by your knowledge and enthusiasm for this and other films. It really is inspiring to me. Thank you so much. I look forward to the next one very soon. James Bond will return, although we don't get that in the credits here in Thunderball, right? It just ends with like, oh, the suit's provided by Anthony Sinclair. Da 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 boom. That's it. The end. But here, yes, the James Bond film discussion live stream will return in From Russia with Love. So I look forward to seeing you there. And so with that, my friends, thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are in the world. And cheers. And my dear friends, code name. Thank you very much, my friends. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Cheers, my friends.